Shabbat Shalom, everyone.
Shabbat Shalom.
It is good to be with you on this Shabbat of Pesach, celebrating Shabbat together, and to be with you who are here in the room, with you who are joining us online as we are building sacred community together. A couple of things that will help us build sacred community. One of them is if you have a cell phone in your pocket, now is a great time to turn it on silent or off, so as not to disturb the room. And also, I see fewer young people here than usual, but tell your friends that we do make our family room available, which is right across from the chapel, for the needs of children and parents who may need a break during services. Parents, if you need a break, please take your children. Okay. So now we are going to continue with the lighting of candles, and we're going to invite Roseanne Rubin up in memory of her grandfather, William Reinhardt, and invite you to turn to page 3.
As these Shabbat candles give light to all who behold them, so may we, by our lives, give light to all who behold us. As their brightness reminds us of the generations of Israel who have kindled light, so may we in our own day be among those who kindle light.
Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam asher kitshanu b'mitzvotav v'tzivanu lehadlik ner shel Shabbat. Shabbat Shalom.
Shabbat Shalom. In 1947, David Ben-Gurion gave a speech in front of the UN Commission on Palestine, in which he said, 300 years ago there came to the New World a boat, and its name was the Mayflower. The Mayflower's landing on Plymouth Rock was one of the great historical events in the history of England and in the history of America. But I would like to ask any Englishman sitting on this commission, what day did the Mayflower leave port? What date was it? I'd like to ask the Americans, do they know what the date was that the Mayflower left port in England, or how many people were on the boat, or who were their leaders, or what kind of food they ate on the boat? More than 3,300 years ago, long before the Mayflower, our people left Egypt. And every Jew in the world, wherever he is, knows what day they left. And he knows what food they ate. And we still eat that food every anniversary. And we know who our leader was. And we sit down and we tell the story to our children and grandchildren in order to guarantee that it will never be forgotten. And we say our two slogans, now we may be enslaved, but next year we will be a free people.
בכל דור ודור חייב אדם לראות את עצמו כאילו יצא ממצרים. בכל דור ודור חייב אדם לראות את עצמו כאילו יצא ממצרים, יצא ממצרים, יצא ממצרים, יצא ממצרים. Can you picture yourself crossing through and wandering the desert? Can you feel the wind support you as you go? Do you hear the cries of those left behind, still hoping for tomorrow? Do you fear the mountain you still have to climb? בכל דור ודור חייב אדם לראות את עצמו כאילו יצא ממצרים, 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 יצא ממצרים. So we have situated ourselves in this week of Passover, and now it's time to do a little welcoming of Shabbat. So we turn to page 20 and welcome Shabbat with Lecha Dodi. לקראת קלה, פני שבת נקבלה. לך דודי, לקראת קלה, פני שבת נקבלה. לך דודי, לקראת קלה, פני שבת סוף מעשה במחשבה תחילה, לה 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 לה, לכבד אותי לקראת קלה, פני פני שבת נקבלה, לכבד אותי לקראת קלה, פני פני שבת נקבלה. התעוררי, התעוררי, כי באורך קומי אורי, אורי אורי שתבירי, כי בא אדוני אלייך נגלה, לה 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 לה, לכבד אותי לקראת קלה, פני פני שבת נקבלה, לכבד אותי לקראת קלה, פני פני שבת נקבלה. We rise and face the entrance. בואי ושלום עטרת בעלה, קם בשמחה ובצולה, תוך המוני עם סגולה. בואי חלה, בואי חלה, לה 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 לה, לכבד אותי לקראת קלה, פני פני שבת נקבלה, לכבד אותי לקראת קלה, פני פני שבת נקבלה, פני פני שבת נקבלה, פני פני שבת נקבלה.
Now that we have greeted the Sabbath bride, let's take an opportunity to greet each other, turn to the people around you, wish them Shabbat Shalom. If you don't know them, introduce yourselves.
Shabbat shalom.
Shabbat Shalom. Shabbat Shalom.
Shabbat shalom. Shabbat shalom.
Page 28.
Yai lai lai, yai lai lai lai, 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 yai lai 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 lai, yai lai 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 lai, lai 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 lai, yai lai 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 lai, yai lai 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 lai, yai lai 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 lai. Yavarechu et Adonai Hamevorach. Baruch Adonai Hamevorach leolam vaed. Baruch Adonai Hamevorach leolam vaed. Yai lai lai, yai lai lai lai, yai lai lai, yai lai lai lai, yai lai lai, yai lai lai lai, yai lai lai, yai lai lai lai.
In the middle of page 31 is a poem, or part of a poem, by the Israeli poet Leah Goldberg. I thought tonight I'd share with you a little bit more of that poem, or a couple of the other stanzas, which will be on the screen. The poem is called On the Border of Light. Here, heavy birds come down to rest on dark trees as the day comes to a close and the wind blows lazily across the tended fields towards the trail of red on the horizon. A salty breeze wafts from across the sea, and a crescent draws itself in on the heavenly canopy, a glowing white, careful and unsure, hesitating between night and day. Brother, brother, how can we stand silent on the border of light? What road lies before us? Shall we draw back, my brother, or shall we cross over? Baruch atah Adonai, hama'ariv aravim.
Page 32. Shema Yisrael, Adonai Eloheinu, Adonai Echad, Baruch Shem Kevod Malchuto Leolam Vaed.
You may be seated as we turn to page 36 for Ve'ahavta.
ואהבת את אדוני אלוהיך בכל לבבך ובכל נפשך ובכל מאודיך והיו הדברים האלה אשר אנוכי מצווך היום על לבביך ושיננתם לבניך ודיברת בם בשבתך בביתך ובלכתך בדרך ובשוכבך ובקומך וקשרתם לאות על ידיך והיו לטוטפות בין עיניך וכתבתם על מזוזות ביתך ובשעריך למען תזכרו ועשיתם את כל מצוותיי והייתם קדושים לאלוהיכם אני אדוני אלוהיכם אשר הוצאתי אתכם מארץ מצרים להיות לכם לאלוהים אני אדוני אלוהיכם.
So all through this holiday, we're supposed to be trying to understand ourselves and our own going out from Egypt. And at the Passover Seder, when we hear the retelling of the story, we hear about all of these incredible miracles that happened to the Israelites as they left Egypt. And it can make it a little hard because we have never seen water turn to blood or frogs appear or the sea part. To wonder what our own exoduses are, what are the things from which we have been liberated. And so I wanted to share with you a poem about the smaller liberations by Hagit Ackerman called Getting Out of Egypt. Not with a strong hand, and not with an outstretched arm, and not with great awe, and not with signs, and not with wonders. Rather hesitantly, with small steps, terrified by darkness. Softly, dedicated, purposefully, with accuracy and love, carrying little signs like the wrinkles of passing time, the transition of seasons, my changing body, the pearls of my longings, getting out of Egypt. We continue with Mi Chamocha.
tambourine and a mighty hand, across the sea and the desert sand. Let the children sing for Miriam next year in the promised land. Next year in the promised land. Next year in the promised land. Next year in Jerusalem. Mi chamocha b'helim Adonai, mi kamocha nedar b'kodesh. Nora tehilot, osef elem. And the river divides,
And the river divides,
and the river forgives,
and the river forgives.
and the river's a wall, and the river's a bridge to freedom. Freedom. Yes, we shall overcome. One freedom. Freedom. Yes, we shall overcome one day. Yes, we shall overcome one day. Let us continue praying that let there be love between us in a sukkah of peace, a sukkah shlomech, as we pray our Hashkivenu prayer. Let there be love and understanding among us. Let peace and friendship be our shelter from life's storms. Let there be love and understanding among us. Let peace and friendship be our shelter from life's storms. Hashkivenu, Adonai Eloheinu. Hashkivenu, leShalom. Hashkivenu, Hashkivenu, Adonai Eloheinu. Hashkivenu, leShalom. Ve'ha'amidenu, shomrenu lechayim. Ufros aleinu, sukkah shlomecha. Hashkivenu, Adonai Eloheinu. Hashkivenu, leShalom. Let there be love, let there be love and understanding among us. Let peace and friendship be our shelter from life's storms.
Speaking of life storms, As we come to the Amidah, we are noticing a change in seasons, a change in the weather around us as we move from spring towards summer. All us Houstonians are battening the hatches. And we see that reflected in our prayers also. So you will note that on page 50, when we get to the Givurot in the Amidah, that on the second night of Passover, we shifted and are no longer praying for the wind to shift and the rains to fall. Now we are praying for God to rain dew upon us, Morid Hatal. So a wonderful moment of noticing our prayers change as our seasons change. So now we'll invite you to turn back to page 46 and rise in body or in spirit for the Amidah.
Adonai sifatai tiftach ufi agi tehilatecha. Adonai, open up my lips that my mouth may declare your praise. Baruch atah Adonai, Eloheinu ve'Elohei avotenu v'imotenu, Elohei Avraham, Elohei Yitzchak, ve'Elohei Yaakov, Elohei Sarah, Elohei Rivka, Elohei Rachel, ve'Elohei Leah, Ha'el Hagadol Hagibor ve'Hanora, El Elyon, Gomel Chasadim Tovim, Ve'konei Hakol, Ve'zocher Chasdei Avot ve'imahot, U'mevi Geula livnei v'neihem, Leman Shemo be'ahava, Melech Ozer u'Moshiach u'Magen, Baruch atah Adonai, Magen Avraham ve'Ezrat Sarah. Ata gibor le'olam Adonai, Mechayei hakol ata rav lehoshia, Morid hatal. Mechalkel chayim bechesed, Mechayei hakol berachamim rabim, Somech noflim verofei cholim, Umatir asurim, Umekayem emunato lishenei afar, Michamocha bal gevurot umido melach, Melech memit umechaye umatzmiach Yeshua, V'ne'eman ata lehachayot hakol. Baruch atah Adonai, Michayei hakol. Ata kadosh v'shimcha kadosh, u'kadoshim b'chol yom yahalelucha selah. Baruch atah Adonai, ha'el hakadosh.
You may be seated. One of the sacred obligations of the Passover Seder is the asking of questions. Often that begins with the youngest person or one of the youngest people at the Seder table asking the four questions, which begin with the words, Ma nishtana halayla hazeh, how is this night different from all other nights? I want to share with you a reflection that is also about finding ourselves in the Passover story by the Israeli poet Yehuda Amichai, called Reflections on Seder Night, where he plays with that first question. Reflections on Seder Night. Ma nishtana, we asked, how is this night different from all other nights? How changed? Most of us are grown up now and have stopped asking, but some go on asking all their lives, the way one asks, how are you, or what time it is, and keeps on walking without waiting for an answer. Ma nishtana kol laila, how changed is every night, like an alarm clock whose ticking is soothing and soporific. Ma nishtana hakol yishtaneh, what has changed, all shall be changed. Change is God. Reflections on Seder night. Of four sons does the Torah speak, one wise, one wicked, one simple, and one who does not know how to ask. But nothing is said up there about a good one or a loving one. That's a question that has no answer, and if there were an answer, I wouldn't want to know. I, who have passed through all the phases of the suns in their changing constellations, I've lived my life. The moon shed its light on me for no reason. The sun went on its way. The Passovers passed without an answer. Manishtana, what has changed? Change is God, death is the prophet. Baruch atah Adonai, she'otecha levadcha b'yirah na'avod. Praised are you, God, whom alone we serve in reverence. We take a moment now to reflect on change in our lives and in the seasons and in the world with a moment of silent prayer. But actually, before we do that, we're going to sing Shalom Rav.
We're going to pray for
I was
peace.
so ready. All right.
We'll reflect shortly.
Yeah, it's okay.
Can still
Okay, you can reflect and sing. It's fine.
Shalom Rav Yisrael Amcha Tasim Leolam. Shalom Rav Yisrael Amcha Tasim Leolam. Ki ata hu melech adon lechol hashalom. Ki ata hu melech adon lechol hashalom. Shalom Rav Yisrael Amcha Tasim Leolam. Shalom Rav Yisrael Amcha Tasim Leolam. V'tov beinecha levarech et Amcha Yisrael b'chol עת ובכל שעה בשלומך. Shalom Rav Yisrael Amcha Tasim Leolam. Shalom Rav Yisrael Amcha Tasim Leolam. Tasim Leolam. Tasim Leolam.
We continue reflecting now silently.
יהיו לרצון אמרי פי והגיון ליבי לפניך. אדוני צורי וגואלי. Adonai Tzuri V'Goali. May the words of my mouth, and the meditations of my heart, be acceptable to you, Adonai, my rock and my Ali.
We offer now a prayer for Israel and a prayer for peace with the words, "Peace, please," by Rabbi Karen Kadar. Please join me. We gather together in faith and with hope to pray for peace and for the safety of the people Israel and all peoples of the earth. Help us, O Holy One, and protect us in our hour of need. Touch our hearts, lest they harden with despair. Guide our thoughts, lest they are overcome with fear. Bring healing to the wounded, strength to those in mourning, courage to those in fear, wisdom to those who lead. Yedid Nefesh, beloved one, reveal yourself and fill the world with your light. Spread over us the shelter of your peace. Be quick, God of love, for the time has come. Have mercy upon us, eternal one of peace. Baruch atah Adonai, Oseh HaShalom. And we continue with the prayer for healing and wholeness, Mishaberach. We think of those in our lives who are in need of healing and strength, whose pains we see and know, and those whose pains we can never see and never know. We think of those who struggle with chronic illness and chronic pain, those who struggle with addiction and those in recovery. We offer our prayers also to the caregivers who offer strength and hope and support every day. We're thinking tonight of Charlotte Berkowitz, Ivan Berman, Kathy Borden, Melba Berman, Eileen Sirsansky, Robert Cohn, Stephanie Cousins, Kathy Ellinger, Benjamin Gibson, Elizabeth Ginsburg, Joe Gittleman, Marcine S. Goldman, Joyce Goodman, Chuck Green, Niaz Hakim, Jerry Halfant, Joyce Halfrecht, Terry Hazelwood, Robin Hodgkins, Christina Howard, Simon Kim, Joanne Clark, Lawrence Levy, Betsy Lewis, Samuel Lewis, Mary Madrigal, Andrew Merrick, Stuart Miller, Cameron Moravati, Odelia Moravati, Dahlia Natan, Magdalene Pessin, Leah Rabelais, Neil Reisman, Sydney Rogan, Beth Ann Scher, Brenda Sherman, Edward Simmons, Bob Stein, Yvonne Zients, Ariella Sharon Bat Yafa Shoshana, Gelka Nechama Bat Leba Chaya, Shimshon Ben Fagel, Yehoshua Matityahu Ben Yaakov Aprevachana, Yitzhak Ben Rut, and Yosef Abraham Ben Mutal Yetzel, and all who are suffering with afflictions of body, mind, and spirit, we offer this prayer.
Mishaberach Avotinu Avraham Yitzchak veYaakov Sarah Rivka Rachel veLeah Hu yivarech veYirapeh et hacholim.
We have a birthday blessing this Shabbat. The birthday girl's birthday was yesterday. I am told Sylvia Farb yesterday turned 98. So I invite you to stand or stand in spirit, whatever you feel up to. Oh, that is well worth a round of applause. We are so happy that you are spending part of this joyous birthday with us, because we know that this congregation is so important to you and to your family, and you have had such a role in shaping it. And we are just so blessed to be in your presence and to learn from you many values. Learn from you the value of generosity, the value of giving, the value of caring for your community, and most importantly, to see reflected in the way you live your life the value of family, the way you surround yourself with people who love you and adore you and celebrate with you at such joyous moments. What an incredible accomplishment. May this be a year of blessing and joy, of health and strength, of possibility and community, and mostly a year of family. So we are going to offer you this blessing. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam shehechiyanu v'kiyamanu v'higiyanu lazman hazeh. Praised are you, eternal, our God, who has kept us in life, sustained us, and allowed all of us to witness this moment and celebrate with you. Mazel tov. Happy birthday. Couple of brief announcements for this Shabbat. If you came here expecting that our preacher tonight would be Rabbi Dr. Nancy Weiner, I'm sorry to disappoint you due to a medical issue. We had to postpone our scholar in residence, our con scholar in residence this weekend. We are working on rescheduling, and we will keep you posted, but our programming will be as usual, including Torah study tomorrow online if you would like to join us for that, and we will let you know when Rabbi Weiner will be with us. In the meantime, on Monday, April 29th at 10:30 a.m., as the festival of Passover draws to a close, we invite you to join Cantor Simmons and Rabbi Hayon as they lead a beautiful reflective prayer service to celebrate the end of the holiday, and so that we as a community can share in remembering loved ones with the prayers of Yizkor. We hope you'll join us next Saturday, May the 4th, for our morning Shabbat service in the chapel, followed by our monthly Shmooze and Shmear. We'll be able to have bagels again, so no RSVP required, just join us. And on May 8th, May 15th, and May 22nd at 8 a.m., Rabbi Hayon is teaching an adult ed mini-series called A Fighter and a Poet, King David's Spiritual Biography. King David plays a prominent role in the history of ancient Israel, and his legacy continues to influence Judaism to this day. Jewish literature is filled with dramatic and fantastical stories about David's role as a military hero, the author of the Psalms, and the forerunner of the Messiah. Together we will study the history of this complicated biblical figure and explore some of the most engaging myths and stories about the sweet singer of Israel. So we hope you'll join Rabbi Hayon for coffee and conversation for this early morning class for 3 Wednesdays in a row. In the aftermath of World War II, a construction worker laying foundation for a new building on the site of the destroyed Warsaw Ghetto came across a container buried in the earth. Inside were manuscripts written in Hebrew characters which were taken to the Jewish Historical Institute of Warsaw. At the top of the bundle was a cover letter written in Yiddish, beginning with the word attention in large characters, punctuated by 3 bold exclamation points. The letter read, "By the grace of God, I respectfully request the honored individual that will find my following writings to be so kind as to take the trouble to forward them to the land of Israel to the following address, Rabbi Isaiah Shapira, Tel Aviv, Palestine. When, with God's compassion, I and the remaining Jews will survive the war, I request that everything be returned to me or to the Warsaw Rabbinate. May God have mercy on us, the remnant of Israel, wherever we may be. May God spare us, grant us life, and save us in the twinkling of an eye." These are the last words we have written by the hand of the Hasidic luminary, Rabbi Kalmanus Kalman Shapira, who served as the chief rabbi of the Warsaw Ghetto. The letter was dated January 1943. A few months later, Rabbi Shapira was deported along with the last few fighters of the Warsaw Ghetto uprising. He was murdered by the Nazis later that year. The manuscripts did make it to Israel into the hands of Rabbi Shapira's brother. They turned out to be a series of sermons on the weekly Torah portion, which the great rabbi had preached in secret in the ghetto between 1939 and 1942. It was later published under the title Eish Kodesh, Holy Fire. I'd like to tell you about one of those sermons because I think the holy fire he wrote about burns just as brightly today. In 1940, the Shabbat of Passover began on April 26th, 84 years ago today. Rabbi Shapira delivered his sermon on a section of this week's special Torah reading from the book of Exodus. This scene takes place just after the incident of the golden calf, an event that struck at the foundation of the relationship between God and the Israelites. The people had lost faith in God, and God in return had lost faith in them. After talking God off the ledge and convincing God to accept the people's repentance, Moses was exhausted. He had seen the people's failure and God's burning anger, and he was scared for his future and theirs. It's one of the lowest points of his life. In that despair, Moses begs God, "Please let me have a vision of your glory." God replies, "I will make all my goodness pass before you. I will have mercy and show kindness to whomever I desire, but you cannot have a vision of my face. A person cannot have a vision of me and still exist. See, there is a place near me. Station yourself on the rock. When my glory passes by, I will place you in a crevice in the rock, protecting you with my hand until I pass by. I will then remove my hand and show you only my back. My essence itself will not be seen." It's a befuddling story. It seems an inopportune moment for Moses to be asking God for favors while God's anger is still flaring. And yet God indulges Moses, though not in the way that Moses had expected. And what is all of this about God's face and God's hand and God's back? Rabbi Shapira understands this is a description of the many ways we encounter God, and especially how we might find God in our moments of trial and challenge. What happens when we are at our lowest point, when God feels distant or hidden? Like the psalmist who writes, "From the depths I called to you." Like Moses after the golden calf, we sometimes feel as if we are calling out of the abyss. First, Rabbi Shapira addresses Moses' request. He quotes a passage in the Talmud where the rabbis are interpreting a phrase from elsewhere in the Bible where it says, "V'yitpalel elav v'yi'ater lo," and he prayed and God answered. But one of the rabbis reads it not as v'yi'ater, but v'yichtar, meaning to tunnel. A person prays from the depths of their despair. They feel as if they are buried under dirt or rubble. And what they do not yet know is that the divine is tunneling towards them, closing the perceived distance between them, reaching out God's hand. Perhaps this is what the Amidah means when it says that God keeps faith with those who sleep in the dust. There are times when we are so deep in it that we may be unable to feel that God is tunneling towards us. And we may start to think that the problem lies in us. We may start to feel that we are unworthy of God's presence. We tell ourselves, maybe this challenge, this hardship we face is a punishment. God has put us in this place. God has hidden God's face from us. This is why God tells Moses, "I will show mercy and kindness to those I choose." God says, you may feel unworthy in the moment, but that's not up to you. I care about you because I care about humanity. And so I reach out my hand to you, not because you are worthy or unworthy, but because you are you and I love you. There is no depth to which you can sink where you will be unworthy of that love. And yet, even having heard this, God still feels distant. Moses still wants to witness God's glory. And perhaps Moses still feels distant because he is looking for the wrong signs of God. Moses wants to see God's face, the full force of God in the universe. Moses wants to see the miracles that he witnessed as the Israelites left Egypt, God's signs and wonders, God's mighty arm. Where is the God who parted the sea? But that's not how we usually experience God. We do not cross the sea every day, maybe not even once in a lifetime. And this is especially not how we find God in the depths. If you are in a time of struggle and you are praying for a miracle, for you to be unfired, for the pandemic to have never happened, for God to reverse a diagnosis or bring a deceased loved one back, you are likely to be disappointed. God does not show God's face in that way, but it can feel like God is ignoring our prayers. No, says God, you can only see my back. You can only see my after effects. It's not the big earth-shattering miracles. It's the small ripples of my presence that you can only see if you know where to look. So stand there in the cleft of the rock, and I will pass before you, and you will not see my glory. You will witness only the echoes of my presence, and maybe that will be enough. But even when we know that we will only see God's after effects, we are still tempted to look for the massive miracles. So Rabbi Shapiro calls our attention to God's hand covering Moses. He quotes another section of the Talmud. The rabbis are interpreting a phrase from Song of Songs where Israel asks God, "Set us as a seal upon your heart, as a seal upon your arm." God responds, "My beloved daughter, you ask the wrong question. A heart can never be seen while in the body, and arms are so often covered. Why would you want me to inscribe a seal between us on a part of me you might never see? No, says God, quoting Isaiah, I will write our promise on the palms of my hands so that they are never covered." Rabbi Shapiro writes, "This hints to us that even when we experience God's hiddenness and endure physical and spiritual troubles, we should not allow into our hearts the thought that we are hidden, God forbid, from God. For even when the palm is doing the concealing, there is still that level of on the palms of my hands, because we are carved into the palms themselves. It is the ultimate closeness, such that we can never be utterly hidden." This is what God has said to Moses from the beginning, though it takes the whole ordeal for Moses to appreciate it. When Moses asks God to reveal God's self, God's first response is, "Hine makom iti." See, there is a place here with me. Come and stand on the rock. The word makom, place, is also one of God's names. And it's the name of God we use at times of illness and distress, when we long to feel God's presence, like God is right there next to us. Hine makom iti, God says to Moses, here in this place, be with me. Rabbi Toba Spitzer writes, God is inviting Moses into a very intimate place. Hine makom iti, here in this place you will find compassion and loving kindness and endless mercy. And what is this place? It exists right here in me, in you. And as we expand our own capacity for compassion, compassion for ourselves, compassion for others, we create a makom of refuge that we carry within us at all times. God is all of it. God is the miraculous presence we cannot see, and God is the reverberations of that presence that echo through the world and which hint to us that God was here in this place even if we did not know it. And God is also the hand that shields us and reminds us of a promise made to keep us in love, a promise that will never be concealed. And God is also the cleft of the rock that holds us and invites us into makom, presence, that tells us that we are not alone. And God is the rock itself, something we can lean on when we are too weary to stand. This is how Rabbi Shapiro ends his sermon, with Moses leaning against the rock. He says that this hints that one can be strong and upstanding even at times of hiddenness. God strengthens Moses by reminding Moses that he can strengthen himself, that all of us can. We are in the holiday of Passover, a time of liberation and celebration, but our Torah reading comes not from the story of the Exodus, but from the beginning of the Israelites wandering in the wilderness to remind us that there is a long way between liberation and redemption. There will be challenges and hardships. We do not cross the sea or reach the promised land every day. Mostly we wander. And in this moment of challenge, in this long, dark night, we can strengthen ourselves knowing that God is tunneling towards us even if we cannot see it. And God is holding us up even if we cannot feel it, and God is with us even if we do not believe it. As the rabbi of the Warsaw Ghetto, Kalonymus Kalman Shapira, knew the darkness and the hiddenness all too well. He felt the despair and the longing in the story of Moses as his own. And like Moses, he did not live to see the promised land, but he left us a message buried in the rubble. It's a message of hope. It's a message of comfort. And it's a reminder that even in the darkness, we are never alone. Shabbat Shalom.
Shabbat Shalom.
As we move into our concluding prayers, we will count the Omer. We are counting those 49 days between the second night of Passover and Shavuot. And so we invite you to partake of the blessing and count the Omer with us.
Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam asher kitshanu b'mitzvotav v'tzivanu al sfirat haomer hayom arba'a yamim laomer.
Today is 4 days of the Omer. And now we continue with Aleinu L'Shabeach, which begins in the middle of page 282. Please rise in body or in spirit.
Aleinu l'shabeach l'Adon hakol, לתת גדולה ליוצר בראשית, שלא עשנו כגויי הארצות, ולא שמנו כמשפחות האדמה, שלא שם חלקנו כהם, וגורלנו ככל המונם, ואנחנו קוראים ומשתחווים ומודים לפני מלך מלכי המלכים הקדוש ברוך הוא. Page 287. ונאמר והיה אדוני למלך על כל הארץ ביום ההוא יהיה אדוני אחד ושמו אחד.
You may be seated. Our thoughts turn to those who have departed this earth, our own loved ones, those whom our friends and neighbors have lost, the martyrs of our people whose graves are unmarked, and those of every race and nation whose lives have been a blessing to humanity. As we remember them, we meditate on the meaning of love and loss, life and death. We take a few moments for silent memory. We think of our loved ones whom death has recently taken from us, those who died at this season in years past, and those whom we have drawn into our hearts with our own Zichronam Livracha. May their memories be for a blessing. Our hearts go out in sympathy to the families of M.M. Feld and Marilyn Shapiro, who were laid to rest in recent days. We also recall the yard sites that fall at this season: Helen Abramowitz, Seymour Aronowitz, Yvonne Aronowitz, Louis Aaron Barr, Joseph Bench, Robert Barron Hout, David Black, Dorothy Black, Louis Block, Marion Brill, Abraham Brody, Jason Paul Brook, Julius Rubin Brownstein, Frank Burns, Anna Kaplan, Bernard Sersonsky, Selma Cohen, Bruce Kaminsky, Samuel Solomon Davidson, Francis Dobin, Oscar N. Eldridge, Esther Cam Engel, Ann Ehrlich, Yehiam Vague, Theba Feldman, Elise Schwartz-Feldman, Frederick Fields, Philip Flowers, Genevieve Ford, Fanny G. Freed, Faye Friedman, Herbert Friedman, Annette Gadeli, Max Gins, Gregory Gordon, Janie Gordon, Jack Gross, Morton Mickey Grossman, May Lyons Haas, Bernard Hertz, Robert Hoffman, Miriam Israel, Lee Kamen, Yetta Kessler, Ernest Klein, Herman Lois Kless, Molly Liss Krinsky, Bella Lane, Lillian Lazovic, Olive H. Levitt, Edwin Lowy, Muriel Leverett Looper, Harry Maltz, Louis Marks, Louis Mendelowitz, Benjamin Mayer, David Moravati, Julia Myers, Martin Nelson, Lauren Lipkin Orton, Jacob Oshman, Ben L. Penner, Irving Pessin, Annie Posmantier, Judah Purov, Henrietta L. Rychek, William Reinhart, Eugene Asa Remmels, Celia Roost, Lena Rosenthal, Saul E. Rubenstein, Beryl Samuelson, Eli Schaefer, Bob Tex Shallett, Steffi M. Schlami, Lillian Schnitzer, Howard Leonard Schultz, Shirley Lambden Schwartz, Lily S. Siegel, Florence Selber, Mona Shabbat, Ruth Y. Shapiro, Jeanette Sherman, Samuel Siegel, Gloria Mendez Silber, Marvin Spear, Betty Mae Cohen Stecken, Michelle Ziegler Stevens, David Tartikoff, Chanel Tuberoff, Morris Waldman, Edward Wayne Sr., Corinne Weinberger, George Weinstein, George Weitzner, Richard Westerman, Leo Williams, and Jack Brown Williams. The words of Mourner's Kaddish can be found on page 294. We rise together as one community. Yitgadal v'yitkadash shmei Rabbah, be'alma divrach hirtei v'al michmal chutei, b'chayechon v'yamechon uv'chayei dechol Beit Yisrael, ba'galau v'zman kari v'imru amen. Yehei Shmei Rabbah Mevorach Leolam Omea Maya, Yitbarach v'yishtabach v'yitpa'ar v'yitromam v'yitnaseh, v'yithadar v'yitaleh v'yitalal Shmei Dekudsha Brichu, Le'ela min kol birchata v'shirata, tushbechata v'nechemata, ta'amiran be'alma v'imru amen. Yehei Shlama Rabbah min Shemaya, V'chayim aleinu ve'al kol Yisrael v'imru amen. Osei shalom b'mramav, hu ya'aseh shalom, aleinu ve'al kol Yisrael v'imru amen.
Osei shalom b'mramav, hu ya'aseh shalom aleinu ve'al kol Yisrael Ve'imeru. Amen.
You may be seated as we transition from Kaddish to Kiddush, which can be found on page 5.
Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam, borei peri hagafen. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam, asher kitshanu b'mitzvotav v'ratzavanu, v'shabbat kodsho be'ahava uvratzon hinchilanu, zikaron lema'aseh v'reishit, ki hu yom techila lemikra'ei kodesh, zecher litziat Mitzrayim. Kivanu v'acharta, ve'otanu kidasha, mikol ha'amim, ve'shabbat kodshecha, be'ava uvratzon hinchaltanu. Baruch atah Adonai mekadesh hashabbat. L'chaim. We have something special tonight.
I know, I don't know if my magic trick's going to work quite as well.
Oh!
So what-
Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam hamotzi lechem min haaretz. Amen.
This is about the time in the holiday when I look at the matzah and I say, enough already. And in honor of that,
In honor of that, we have something special. We had to sing it one more time.
if you'll please rise for the closing benediction. Eloheinu v'Elohei avotenu v'imotenu. Help us in this season to find the missives hidden in the rubble from the past. Help us to find courage when we need courage. Help us to find hope when we need hope. Help us to know that we are not alone when we feel lonesome. Help us to know that we have the power within ourselves, to strengthen others, and to build a world of peace. We thank you for the many blessings in our lives, and we say, Amen.
Amen.
Shabbat shalom.
Shabbat shalom.